Bla-Con Media is a broadcast engineering and distribution firm, and we first want to thank Texas Southern for inviting us to this fantastic Communications Week day. We are involved in a broadcast executive leadership program at Texas Southern, as well as 4 other HBCUs. And our whole purpose in being here today is to spread the word about broadcast engineering. I personally have been in the business since 1981. Worked for Turner Broadcasting, CBS, Fox, and others for a number of years. Actually worked for a presidential campaign. And during that process, I was a broadcast engineer responsible for live events. And in 2002, I decided to start a company called Bla-Con Media. And since then, we've been involved in producing a number of live events. And as soon as I can share my screen with you, I'll be able to show you a little bit more about some of the things that we have done. We have a case study that we wanted to go through today. And but in the meantime, while I work on that, I want to go ahead and introduce some of our business partners and our actual presenter for today. And I will start with Mr. Ernie Watts. You'll see him up in the left-hand corner. Mr. Watts, if you could briefly introduce yourself, please, sir.
Hey, I'm Ernie Watts. I am a broadcast and IT specialist. I've worked with Turner Broadcasting for over 40 years, as well as worked with other entities in the broadcast business all over the country and all over the world. I also specialize in large mobile unit, live mobile unit trucks and telecasts. So I work on the setup, the design, the setups and transmission portions of all the live programming on both sides of that, on the outbound side and on the receive side. So hopefully I'll be here to give you some instructions and help you get some idea on how you can get your certifications in broadcast engineering and IT in the IT world.
Thank you, Ernie. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Kenny Alacock. Mr. Alacock, could you introduce yourself, please, sir?
Hello, family. My name is Kenny Alacock. I am Vice President Engineering for New England Sports. We are a regional network, globally streaming for the Boston Red Sox and for the Bruins. I am a technology specialist. My history extends quite a few from the islands of Hawaii, now all the way to the far northeast of New England. I've had a lot of great opportunities where I am able to build and design several facilities around the country. My last creation, my last project is where I met Ernie and Steven, Black News Channel. I was the original design engineer for launching that network, so I'm happy to share that. My passion is definitely to help folks who look like me, who talk like me, be part of the industry and try to develop their skills and understand and recognize and get connected with all the opportunities, with all of the new technology opportunities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alacock. And Mr. Mike Skehan is going to be our presenter for today. Mr. Skehan, if you could go ahead and just talk about a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself. And we're still working to try to share our screen, folks. And we're going to keep on pushing through. So, Mr. Skehan, if you could introduce yourself, please, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Mike Skehan, and I, too, am a broadcast engineer. Started as a cameraman in New Orleans at WWL-TV, the CBS affiliate, and sort of grew from there, grew with the job. Engineering became a large part of it when everything went to video or film, and eventually I came to Washington, D.C., worked for NBC for a while, spent about 12 years on the road working for British television with my brother Patrick. We were their North American news and documentary crew. Out of that, it grew into a larger company, which branched out to do live remotes eventually production trucks, satellite uplink trucks, which I'm sitting in right now. We've done national, international, all sorts of things, similar to what all of these gentlemen have been engaged in. Right now, I am considering retirement, but Stephen and Ernie and company have asked me to participate in some of these seminars, and I'm happy to do so. One of the things that I found when I came from New Orleans to Washington, very pleasingly found out, there were a lot more people of color, a lot more people of diverse backgrounds in the industry. That hasn't changed much, except that we don't have them as much in management, we don't have them as much in engineering. Everybody wants to be on the air. Well, we're here to tell you that there's a whole other world out there behind the camera and behind the racks and behind the wheels of those vehicles. Don't limit yourself if that's what you.
We appreciate that, Mike. In fact, that's a great lead-in. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to share our screen. So, folks, we're going to make our presentation with
Mr.
the number
Bacon,
of
you
people we
can share
have.
your screen. Mr. Bacon, you can share your screen. I was about to see your screen. If you want to try it again, just make sure you choose the
Okay,
application
thank you.
that you want to share.
Okay,
Yep.
I
Now
did.
shrink that,
Okay.
and then don't click stop sharing. Just shrink that down, and then show exactly what you want to share.
Okay. All right. Do you
Okay.
see my screen now?
Yes, we do.
Do you see it?
Yes, we
Okay,
do.
great. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your assistance with this. Okay, if you give me a second, we'll get started with our program here. Thank you. Okay, as I mentioned, our company is Bla-Con Media, and all the wonderful gentlemen on this line are responsible for working with us in one way or another. This is a quick overview of our company, and as we mentioned, we're broadcast engineers. One of the reasons, as Mr. Skehan mentioned, that we started this particular program is because, and Ernie and Mike actually can talk about it a lot more than I can. For some reason, back in the early 80s and early 90s, we saw a bunch of African American and minority men and women who were interested in the business. And then somewhere around the late 90s, that started falling off. And as Mike mentioned, people wanted to be in front of the camera and, in the studio. And we certainly understand that. Great opportunities to make a great living and to have an exciting, enjoyable lifestyle. But we also want to continue to explain to you that behind the studio, behind the camera is a whole nother world. It drives your apps. It allows you to go to YouTube. It allows you to go to Instagram. It allows you to do a number of things that you do from a social media perspective as well as a technology perspective. And our job is to make sure you're aware of that world and try to train you as well as we can to be a part of that world. And that's where broadcast engineering comes in. So from a Bla-Con Media perspective, these are just a few of the clients that we've had over the years. I'm sure if we start adding in Ernie's client list and Mr. Skehan as well as Kenny's client list, we could fill a number of pages. But this is kind of just an overview of some of the events we've been a part of over the years. Here is our definition of broadcast engineering. And we say that it's a field of electrical engineering and now to some extent computer engineering and information technology, which deals with radio and television broadcasting. Kenny, if you could kind of just take about a minute and a half and talk about how there was a time when IT was looked at as its own field and broadcasting was looked at as its own field, and now they have kind of merged.
Yes, we are going through, the industry is going through a massive convergence. And the convergence is the integration of traditional technology and new technology. And, from our standpoint, the opportunities really, really are expanding. Now the viewer or the reader want their content on more and more mobile devices. I know the majority of you guys capture your content, your favorite shows, your favorite animes, your favorite sports on mobile devices. So now, because of that need, the technology has changed. Traditionally, it was a mechanical base, tape base server delivery. You have a camera, you ingest your content via a camera. That camera captures that picture and stores it in some type of physical medium, and it's stored and played out on a local delivery system. Now, that local delivery system extends the outreach to many apps. If you guys have many apps in your phones, in your tablets, in your laptops, and your smart TVs, that information is now stored on a cloud base. So we're definitely looking for, technologists, specialists that have a lot of computer skills, who understand software, who understands gaming, who understands graphical presentation. But fundamentally, you guys should know the basic workflow of how to create the product and deliver that product. So the industry is definitely going through a massive convergence, a combination of blending the old school and the new school. So you're right on time.
All right, thank you. So what I want to do is, also, Ernie, did you have something that you might wanted to add to that?
The only thing I
Ernie?
wanted to add to that was we were hoping that I'm hoping that you have availability to our website so that you can get the information that we've put on there, so that you can get some idea of where you can get information to get
There
certified
you go,
for
Ernie. Can you see that? Is that up?
I don't see it yet, but there should
Okay.
be some material on there where you can reach out and see where what's available in the IT service management area, in the engineering area, and get your certification in the Society of Broadcast Engineers certification test. These are the two major certifications that's going to be required to get into broadcast engineering, and we have provided that document there that have links to give you information on how to and where to get information concerning those certificates. The study guides are available. The study guides are usually free. However, the tests may require membership and or a fee for the test, but at least you'll have certification, and that's the first step in getting into broadcast engineering as a licensed and or certified engineer.
Thank you very much, Ernie. We appreciate that. Mike, did you want to add anything to that before our presentation?
No, just go ahead, Steve. I'm right here.
Okay, thank you. So what we wanted to do, folks, was give you a very, very quick case study of something that we've done over the years from a live event perspective. We have been blessed to, along with everyone else on the line, to produce events all over the globe. In fact, we've actually been on every continent to produce or work for a client or to produce our own independent projects. So what we wanted to do very quickly is kind of run through what it takes to do an event internationally. And we wanted to focus on an event that we did in Havana, Cuba, as well as one we did in Melbourne, Australia. And then what we wanted to do was kind of show you the difference between trying to do an event in a communist country compared to one that is a Western country. And one of the things that we noticed is you just have to be ready for politics, and you have to be ready to rock and roll. You never tell what's going to come up on any given day, and you have to be prepared. And you also have to be extremely prepared as it relates to your preparation. I know that sounds like an not an oxymoron, but a doublespeak. But the preparation for these international events goes back maybe 30, 60, 90, 120, a half a year before you actually end up on a continent to produce an event. So we're going to show you a real brief video that was one that we did for our introduction in Havana, as well as the one that we did in Melbourne, Australia. And then from there, we're going to move very quickly to a flow chart that kind of shows you about our signal patterns. And then after that, we'll come back. We'll talk briefly again to Ernie and Kenny about the SBE certification. And then we'll give the floor to Mr. Skehan and let him do his presentation. So we've got a quick, I think 2.5 minute video here of something that we did when we were in Havana as well as in Melbourne, Australia.
Good day from beautiful Melbourne, Australia. It is that time again when some of the greatest musicians in the world gather to celebrate International Jazz Day. This year, the celebration will initiate from the beautiful Hamer Hall in Melbourne, Australia. This year's lineup for International Jazz Day will feature Herbie Hancock, Liz Wright, James Jennis, and a host of others. Bla-Con Media has been contracted for the 6th year, having produced transmissions on satellite, the internet, and distribution from New Orleans, Istanbul, Osaka, Paris, Havana, and St. Petersburg, Russia. Tune in for more at jazzday.com beginning April 30th. Again, www.jazzday.com beginning April 30th. Good day from Havana, Cuba. I'm Stephen Bacon, and we're Bla-Con Media. Thank you for following us for the last several years on International Jazz Day. You've been with us through New Orleans, Louisiana. You went with us to Istanbul, Turkey. You were there for Osaka, Japan. You were there for Paris, France. And now we're here in Havana, Cuba. We're here to celebrate International Jazz Day at the Grand Theatre. What a fantastic lineup. And once again, thank you for joining Bla-Con Media here in Havana, Cuba.
Well, folks, we continue to have some kind of problem here with the video, but you got an idea of what it is we do and how we set up when we go to our international events. What I want to do very quickly is kind of give you an idea of the flow chart for that event. Number one, we always laugh at this first picture on the left-hand side. That's myself and our partners, Ron Turlington. I'm responsible for all of the satellite technology. He's responsible for all of the streaming. We actually brought our own uplink and IP kits to Havana. It was very difficult getting it from the United States into an embargoed country, but we were able to do that. And we put a picture down here. Will Smith was actually the moderator for that particular event. This is the phone path, the IP phone path that we utilize. If you notice here on the left in pink, we used a number of routers, a number of modems to produce our phone path. We sent it up to an international satellite via the flyaway that you saw. That was that mobile dish. We brought it down to a hub that was owned by Intelsat, and through that, excuse me, let me go back. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. We'll get right back where we were. We brought it down through a hub owned by Intelsat, and okay, here we are. Through the hub owned by Intelsat and sent it back up into the cloud, and then we did our telephones through voice over IP. We could not use the system in Havana, Cuba, because the government in Cuba is very regulated, and they monitor your phone calls. They only allow you a certain amount of time to talk, and it would have made it very difficult for us to do the international coordination. So we had to actually bring our own phone system in. If you look at this, this is actually the path that we used. You can see the live production from the event on the left-hand side. We sent that through an encoder. We continue to talk about our C-band flyaway dish. We sent that up to an international satellite, Galaxy 13. We brought it back down to an Atlanta teleport, and then we sent that signal via fiber to Culver City, where we processed it and put it out on Facebook as well as YouTube. One of the things in our business that you always have to be sure of is that you have a primary satellite and a backup satellite, or a primary path and a backup path. This is what our backup path looked like. And if you notice, it's very, very different than what that primary path looked like. It started out the same. If you look at the live production going to the C-band, but we used another international satellite for our turn, and we call these international turns on that satellite. We brought it back down to Arqiva, which was our partner for distribution in the UK, and then from there we sent it through international fiber to Culver City. So same process, just a different method, just a different path for our backup. Now, and I'm moving very quickly because we have a lot we want to cover. The path in Melbourne, Australia for International Jazz Day was a little bit different. First of all, you see our working conditions were a lot nicer. We weren't operating out of a shipping container, number one. And so we had a lot more technology at our hands, which technically made our job a lot easier. You see the beautiful control room. We were able to use a satellite truck there instead of having to bring in our own flyaway. It was just a lot easier working in a Western country. If you look at this transmission path, this is our primary path. We started out down here at the bottom left-hand corner in the music hall. We sent via fiber the signal to Melbourne, Australia. From there, we went up to a satellite, and then we came down to a teleport in Sydney, Australia. Through international fiber, we sent that signal from Sydney to the United Kingdom by transcontinental fiber. And then from the United Kingdom, that fiber, another transcontinental fiber line was used to send that signal to Los Angeles. That was our primary path. Our secondary path, we were able to use an encoder called a VA225, and it actually takes video and turns it into IP. And that way you can use the local phone system lines, like an AT&T, for instance, to transfer your video. So we went from that music hall again, we used that encoder, we transferred that video and audio back to the UK, and from the UK, through that international fiber, they sent it to All Mobile Video in Los Angeles. So this actually gives you an idea of both of the paths, both the primary and the backup path. So just understand, this is an exciting industry. There's a lot involved. We're here to train all of you guys because we're interested in the next generation of broadcast engineers. But we want to be sure that you're dedicated. This is the kind of industry that it's not something that you can kind of approach in a fly-by-night capacity. You really have to be interested because there's so much to know and everyone's depending on you. At the end of the day, if the broadcast engineers don't come through, then a signal won't be seen or a signal won't be transmitted. Ernie, Kenny, or Mike, can you talk a little bit about the scopes that we're showing here on the right-hand side and the importance of those as it relates to a broadcast engineer? Either one of you gentlemen? Kenny?
Well, the scopes are used to
Thank you.
measure electrical values of what you're seeing. And the vector scope measures the color gamuts as they're supposed to be. And there are specifications on what the levels should be so they don't create any video distortions in the signal. And also, and I can't see what scope that is on the bottom there. But it looks like it's a spectrum analyzer, and what that does is let you know that you're right on the frequency that you're supposed to be on the transponder, and make sure you're well within your bandwidth. So both of those scopes are, and I think that one on the top is also measuring audio, but I can't see because it's a little small for me. But they come in many varieties of scopes, but those are the things that need to be measured. From the moment you start till the end of the transmission, because those specifications have to be held within spec, or else they can interfere with other signals in the airspace.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that.
Hey, Steven, Steven,
yes.
is it possible for you to go back to one of the other slides? I want to simplify one of the other slides, the one that had the aerial and orbital connections.
Okay.
Any one of them.
Okay. We'll go there.
Okay. So our goal,
yes,
our goal as a company is to try to find the talent and inspire the talent and mentor the talent for those individuals who have the desire to develop their skills. Their technology skills. As you can see here, this is just one of the many flow charts that Stephen has presented. We don't want to get it too complicated, but there's definitely a desire for African American men and women who have the ability, who are strong in technology, who understands the high science, who enjoys it. It is the field that is able, you have access to communicate with all devices across the world in any systems, both on an analog side, on a digital side, a orbital side, spacecraft side, application sides, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just not limited. There's tons of needs, tons of desires. Our goal is to try to mentor up and coach up and help you get into the door, get those first layer certifications, get those first layer of help you coach you up in the interviews, help build your resume. So, those are good visuals. Mike is going to probably do a much better job in giving you some real world examples. But just to share, from our standpoint, our goal is to help really develop you.
Thank you, Kenny. We appreciate that. No further ado, we want to introduce again Mr. Mike Skehan. Mike is actually in his satellite truck at this time, and we wanted to take this opportunity for him to give you guys a virtual tour of an actual operational live satellite truck. And no more can be said. We're going to give Mike an opportunity to go ahead and make his presentation. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, my pleasure. As gentlemen have mentioned, I am sitting in our satellite truck, one of our trucks. Let me point out a couple of things. Historically, when I started back in the mid-'70s broadcasting, the primary way to do a live remote was by microwave. So we'd have a microwave truck and we'd beam it back to the station, and voila, we're there. If you were going beyond your local area, you had to use what was known as AT&T long lines, but you had to rely on the phone company to get your signal from, say, Atlanta to Chicago to LA or Spokane or wherever you're going. Fast forward a bit, and transportable satellite technology came into play. That was an offshoot of big stuff-link sites, antenna farms. You may pass them on the highway and see places that look like they're from outer space. You've got dozens and dozens of big satellite dishes sitting on an open field. That's basically an uplink facility. So as things progressed over the years, we ended up with the ability to do that in a transportable format. You put a dish on a truck, you put amplifiers in the truck, you put the required equipment, encoding, et cetera, on a mobile platform, and that opened up mobile uplinking, transportable uplinking. It's not just trucks, it's also flyaway packs. You can pack it all up in 5 or 6 boxes, take it anywhere you want in the world. So with the advent of transportable uplinking, it opened up a whole new industry, a whole new possibilities. We are actually, I won't say we're on the tail end of that technological revolution, but other things that have been alluded to here, IP, et cetera, are now coming wave of mobile transit. However, before I get to that, let me just run you through what's in this truck. Behind me, you'll actually see over my left shoulder, you'll see a couple of scopes, one of which is very similar to the one that Stephen had in his slide. It's a waveform vector scope, monitors video signal levels, that sort of thing. But the one that looks a little more interesting and is actually more related to the satellite business, this one. That's a spectrum analyzer. Kind of hard to see from there, but it's not a straight line. There's little bumps in it. All those bumps are actually set signals coming off of a satellite that I'm looking at now, which is known as SES-3. There are various network programs in those little bumps. There are individual, there's data basically in some of those, and there's major network distribution in a few of them. So that's part of how we're still using satellite technology. It's an amalgam now. It's a combination of satellite technology, cellular technology. Everybody's heard about 5G and all of that. Well, that's going to be part of it very soon. You've got a growing field, a diverse field, and any one of you that are interested in it doesn't take necessarily higher math skills. It doesn't take necessarily, frankly, wanting to be a rocket scientist. Get into this and do it. If you have the desire, you have the ability to think in a straight line. If you have an ability to get from point A to point B, and you want to devise ways to do that, this is a very, very good field to get into. As I said, I started out as a news cameraman, news and documentary shooter, and I still shoot. I just came back from Tucson working on an industrial. But my natural curiosity about things and the need to fill the need of my clients and others in the industry came to me and said, listen, I want to be able to do a live telecast. It involves satellite, it involves fiber, it involves video conferencing at the time. That was before IP got popular. I jumped into some of those projects not knowing exactly how I was going to get them accomplished, but knowing where I could go to get the resources to figure it out. The reason that I sort of persisted in growing is because I have a natural curiosity. And anyone with a natural curiosity, and I think 99% of us have that, coupled with even the ability to think technically, not necessarily having a degree in it or having all of the things that you might think will actually benefit you and help you get into this business. My background, as I said, is in film and television and shooting, photography, etc. So being a visual person has helped me a great deal. I have to be able to envision how my client wants to see this at the other end of the feed. I have to figure out the most efficient way of getting a signal from point A to point B and sometimes to multiple points of contact. So there's a lot of thought that goes into this, a lot of prep. As Steve said, the prep for doing something like that International Jazz Fest is it can take months. I've had some projects that have lasted almost a year, and it worked well, but we haven't had a single failure in our almost 40 years. I had some close calls, but as they pointed out, you have to be ready. You have to have a backup plan. You got to have a backup path. You got to always think, what is it going to be? What's my backup if this fails? Could we go like with a live shot? Sometimes you'll see them on the news when they're crazy, and next thing you know, you're hearing only audio. Well, that audio may not be coming via satellite. It may be coming via a telephone line, maybe a cell phone. There's all sorts of things now. And now with cellular technology, just about anybody can go live just about anywhere to other facilities. So, in the rest of the truck, I can tell you, it kind of looks like a control room. You know, we got our bank of monitors, we got our QC monitor, the larger one, we're routing things into. The truck is capable of taking external inputs, so we could actually do 3 or 4 cameras out of this truck without having to use our large production truck, which is 8 cameras. This vehicle in particular was formerly owned by Hispanic Network. They decided they didn't need it anymore. They were going all IP and all cellular, so they sold it and redid it. Part of our endeavor in this business, it's sort of a hobby, but it's one of our intentions is to make things as green as possible. So we do very little from brand new product. We buy used, we refurb it, we may put new equipment in it somewhat, depending on the technological requirements. For example, whether we're doing HD or 4K or soon 8K, who knows. But we try to, and this has helped me stay in business for as long as I've been, we try to do things as economically and as green as possible, simply because I've seen a whole lot of old television junk in warehouses and junkyards, so I like to reuse as much as we can. I'll take you outside, show you the outside of the truck so you can see the sort of meat and potatoes of it. It's a...
Hey, Mike,
Yes,
before you go outside, can you kind of show the viewers the actual equipment that's responsible for the uplink itself? Your up converters.
Yep, part of that is what I was about to do. Okay, guys.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. All right, now, what you're looking at here is the encoders, modulators, and the ones on the lower part are our IRDs. Those are our receivers, so we can receive signals simultaneously with our transmission. We can look at our own signal. We can look at other signals that are on the same satellite. The unit up top is what actually takes our video, or whether high def or not, converts that into a signal called ASI. The ASI is then fed into the next unit, which is a modulator up converter. And that's what feeds the signal into our transmitter, which is actually the amplifier is mounted on the dish itself. But this is where we control what goes out of the truck. Again, over here, we've got the scopes, we've got the antenna controller, and also the HPA controller, and then our video patching and sort of other signal patching. Here we're basically communications. We've got intercom, we've got telephone interfaces of several different varieties, and also IFB controllers so that we can talk to talent if we have live talent on site. I'll back up here a bit. you get a pretty good idea of this, what the inside looks like and how it's built. Most uplink trucks these days are of this variety. You will see some that are capable of doing both C-band and KU-band. Also, you'll find the larger trucks are called combo trucks, meaning they can do multi-camera production as well as satellite uplink. We have one of those now as well. So it's really a kind of everything is part of your toolbox. That's what these trucks are for us. We don't need an uplink, then we just take the production truck. If we don't need multi-camera, we just take what we call an EFP package, electronic field production package, which is essentially camera, audio, and support equipment. Sometimes we're doing nothing more than streaming. We may be doing a live webcast, which we can do, quite frankly, we can do over the internet now. With 5G mobile devices, it's possible to stream in full HD just using a portable cellular device. So there's lots and lots of different ways to do it now. Used to be this was very much in demand, not as in demand as it was, but still a very, very necessary tool. This truck used to run about 10 to 15 days a month. These days, we might be lucky to get 2 or 3 days a month, but nevertheless, it's a necessary tool. It's like having a hammer in your toolbox. If you don't have it, you're not going to be able to drive that nail. So let me run outside here. Okay. So, Stephen, I can't exactly see what I'm showing you, so
Yeah,
let me know if I missed anything.
No, you're good. We're seeing the dish and your panel on the side.
Right. Well, the dish. Okay. There's you'll see the dish. You see a box that's sitting on the cradle at the feet. That's actually the amplifier, which gives us enough power to get up to the satellite, 1,000 plus miles away. That dish actually is capable of finding the satellite automatically. You just it will provide. But fortunately,
We're losing your audio. Okay, you're back. Go ahead.
Oh, you're losing. Okay. How's that?
Okay, you're back. Go ahead, sir.
All right, great. This is what we call the I/O panel. Input/output signals go here. We've got a way of getting video in and out of the truck. If we need the return feed back to talent, we can do that. We have fiber interconnectivity. We've actually got data points out here that we can get it out of the truck with audio. Always pay much attention.
Mike, we're starting to lose your audio. We're getting every other word. So,
Okay.
we appreciate it. Yeah, and we'll appreciate it if you. First of all, thank you very much. I want to be sure to leave some time for questions because I know we try to jam a lot into less than an hour here. So I know we've been pushing this thing quite quickly. But we've got one question that came in, and I'm going to toss this to Ernie and Kenny, and I can talk about it a little bit.
All right.
We've been asked, what is the process for the broadcast engineering certification?
The SBE offers the SBE offers several levels and certain varieties of certifications. The best thing to do is to get to the SBE site and figure out which one. The very first one, I believe, is called a technologist, and it includes audio, video, IP, and several other varieties of certifications. But I would certainly go to the site at sbe.org, I believe it is, and it's included in that bibliography to get information concerning all study guides for every certification. And it may require you to be a student member. I'm not sure about that, but you need to go to that site and find out and get the study guides and figure out which certification you'd like to take. The other certification that I suggest is the IT Service Management, which used to be called ITIL. That information is also on the bibliography as how to contact and find out that study guide.
And we have Mr. Alacock, who's actually the only African American member on the board for the Society of Broadcast Engineers. So, Kenny, if you could talk a little bit more about what a student or an individual would need to bring to the table to be able to pass the certification. And then we're going to also talk very briefly about what we're doing in the schools to help students prepare themselves. Kenny, you got to unmute yourself.
I apologize.
Kenny?
Hello.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry.
All right, we got you.
It's always bad when the engineers are having, technical challenges. That's a good thing. Ernie had just shared, how to get there. Stephen asked, what you as a student could bring and how we could continue to help. Mike alluded to the passion and the interest. I think that's where it starts. There's several levels. There's several variations of the certification. What we're going to do is, if you definitely have an interest, you could reach out to us. Once you say yay or nay, you want to look at, exploring those certifications. We're going to help mentor you and coach you up so you could pass the exam. We don't guarantee, but we're going to do our best to really direct you and and provide you with all the years of experience that we have. The goal is to go ahead and pass the test so that you could get into the door. And that's, once you get into the door, the rest is on you. But, our job is to make sure that we're going to support you in every which way.
Kenny, if you could talk about briefly the places that, or the areas that this kind of information or this kind of background could be utilized outside of the broadcast industry.
So where we're seeing a trend, for guys who, students or young ladies, individuals who have interest in this area. We're seeing an explosion in the gaming industry. We're seeing an explosion in the app development. We're seeing an explosion in, YouTube and TikTok. Those guys, when you look outside of just capturing a video from and being an influencer, it's who runs the back office, who runs the 30 acres, Ernie could share, the 30 acres, the 40 acres of servers in the background. It is a broadcast engineer. It is a technologist. It is a server, a IT manager. They're very, 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 we're seeing, the growth in our industry that has just been exponential because the need of the viewer has been so diverse and forever expanded. So, it's limitless. It is really, it's limitless. And we're blessed to really be in the forefront. And, we're definitely looking to help because let's just be honest, there's not many people of color who are in this industry, and we're passionate about it. And look, let's just be honest, it has blessed me and my family for so many years. I hope for many more years to come.
Right, and last but not least, if Ernie or Kenny could talk directly to how a Panasonic, a Sony, a Hitachi, a Ikegami, name a company, is utilizing broadcast engineers.
Well, first of all, they use us to get ideas on how to build better products. We're the ones using them in the field, and that's how they make their money. Every broadcast manufacturer has come to me personally, as well as my company, and says, well, how can we make this product better? Since I'm the one that uses it, they look to me to give them the answers on how to develop their product. And I think that's probably the largest thing outside of putting patches in patch fields or routing routers. The broadcast engineer serves as a product designer, and he's an influencer when it comes to that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest thing as the broadcast engineer provides a service for the manufacturers.
Appreciate that, Ernie. Thank you. So let me say this. I see that we're in the process of wrapping up. I appreciate the question, but I also wanted to mention that we want to, again, thank Texas Southern, because Texas Southern has just opened their arms to our program. I don't want to start talking about how it's going to become a curriculum and where the program is going to go over the next 3 to 5 years. That's on wonderful people like Dean Brown and others. But our point is to be sure that we want to bring this to the table for HBCUs. Right now, we have Texas Southern that is obviously interested, Winston-Salem State University, Albany State, and Georgia. This is the time to be involved. We want you guys to, who particularly at Texas Southern or even any of the schools that we name. We just sent out our flyer for our next program. That's going to be March the 30th. We're going to specialize in audio engineering. We try to make sure we have a guest speaker for each and every one of our programs, as we had Mr. Skihan today. And we don't want this just to be a science or math or numbers to you guys. We want this to be real world. So in each one of our presentations, we try to give you a real flow of how an event would look. We want to continue to talk about the SBE certification, because that's what we're here to do, is help you prepare for that. And then we want to talk about the kind of effect that having this background, this knowledge will have, on not only in the industry, but, to a great extent on the world, because this is the future of communications. This is not going to go away. It's going to continue to evolve, but it's not going to disappear. So for those of you who are interested, please stay in touch with us. For those of you who are blessed enough to be at a school like Texas Southern, please check with your deans, check with your instructors, Mr. Goyette, Mr. Murray, Mr. Duncan, others, to see how you can be involved in this program. So I recognize we're a little bit after our hour. I don't want to go over. If there's any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them or have our team answer. Our team is bigger than this, but what's interesting about our business is you never know when you're going to get a call to come and do something. So we actually had 2 team members who got a call for a production right at this time, and so they weren't able to be on, and both of them I would have liked you to have met, because they have very different backgrounds and they have very different approaches to the business, but that's what makes our team what it is. I see you're asking for contact info. I'm going to make sure we get that back up, and I can turn this back over to the TSU moderator, because again, I want to and not go over the time.
We will get that information for them in the chat, and we'll get that contact information for them, as well as the certification information for them. Thank you so much, Bla-Con Media, for this awesome presentation.